Hey, and welcome back to my channel. I am Maya, and today we are talking about The Cousins by Karen McManus. As you can see, this was another book that I actually listened to on audiobook, and I thought it was great. This one is the first audiobook I've heard read by so many people. Actually, I can't recall if One of Us is Lying, which I half listened to on audiobook and half read. I can't recall if that was by 2 voice actors or 4, because it is 4 characters, but I could be wrong. But this one, it was voice acted by 4 different people: Millie, Aubrey, Jonah, and Millie's mother, Allison. Those 4 people, Millie, Aubrey, and Jonah, are cousins that have been summoned to their grandma's, is it her private island? It's called Gull Cove Island, but I don't know that necessarily it's her island, but she owns a lot of the property there and a resort there that she has invited them to work to. About 24 years before, her parents, their parents, lived on the island, 4 siblings, 3 boys, 1 girl, and they did something that caused their mother to disinherit them, and they were kicked off the island, never to return again. The cool thing about this is it does start from Millie's perspective, and you kind of get to know each cousin and their reasoning for going to this trip. Most of them were against it originally, and then they change their minds and decide to go forth with it. The portion with Allison, all of the cousins' perspectives is written in first person. The portion with Allison is written in third person. That was a little jarring for me. Like, I think it worked out well, but part of me wishes that Allison's part was also written in first person. But it just kind of, I guess, helped ground the fact that this was a portion of the story that was in the past. Allison's portion, I think, is sprinkled nicely throughout because it kind of starts, the story kind of starts to lead towards what exactly happened that forced them to be disinherited by their mother, and thought it had like a nice build up and flow, her portion of the story. I really love the interaction between the cousins. Everyone is just so different. Millie, you know, she's really into material things, and she kind of prides herself on all this knowledge she has. She really wants to meet her grandma at some point in time during the novel because she's always kind of idolized her. She has these trinkets like her grandfather's watch and this necklace she wants from her mother and this dress she has from her mother, and they're family heirlooms. They're things, but they're precious things to her, but you don't necessarily get that right away. You get it from her perspective, but other people don't seem to realize that right away. They just kind of think she's vain and, you know, materialistic, and that she's just after money, basically. And then Aubrey is really sweet and soft-spoken, and she's not really, well, not necessarily soft-spoken, but she's not really a person that is doing most of the time. Most of the story, you think Millie is going to be the one to really not only set everything in motion, but kind of solve the mystery, especially because the final perspective is from her mother. But that's not necessarily the case, which I did enjoy. But Aubrey has a situation going on with her father, who has done something terrible, and right now her parents are split apart, and her father is this former writer who has 1 published novel, and he's just kind of basking in his own glory, former glory stench. He thinks the world of himself and nothing of his daughter, and she's a swimmer, and she's just trying to get her own voice and break out of the shadow of her father and love herself. And she also has this terrible boyfriend who just kind of talks to her whenever she's not talking to him. It's just like not a good relationship, and yeah, she has her own level of growth that is very different from Millie and very different from Jonah. And Jonah's story is very unique, and I don't necessarily want to go too deep into his background so that I don't spoil anything, but I will say that I did like him as a character. He is portrayed originally as like this asshole and this know-it-all, and he's just a dork, really. But you get to know the real Jonah. Yeah, I thought there were some nice twists in this story, particularly with the grandma. Was it somewhat far-fetched? Yes and no. What happens with their grandmother, Mildred, in reality would very much be far-fetched, but I think the situation with the grandma worked because she is in a secluded place with very few people that have access to her, without going into too much detail or spoiling anything. So I felt like, for those of you that have read it or will read it and get to this point in the review, I felt like the plot twist with her was believable, or I could suspend my disbelief and believe that part. I want to say Karen McManus, just from having read One of Us is Lying and having read this, you know, she's really good at like these intense climactic scenes where like you think a character's life is in danger and you know, something bad is going to happen to them. Something does bad happen to them, but it's not like, it's not a death, but maybe it's just some trauma. I just recall the scene in One of Us is Lying where that happens to a specific character and it happening here, and just think it was really, really well done. There is definitely some misdirection in this book, given the path of Allison's story and the rumors surrounding what happened to the parents in the 24 years prior. There is a really nasty rumor, and you're kind of waiting through her story to see if that's what it was, or you know it's not what it is, but trying to see like how that blossomed to getting to them being disowned. And then as you're going, you kind of figure out that something else has happened, but there's still a twist within that part that I feel like works well. It's so hard to like talk about a book and not talk about specific details. You'd think I'd be used to this by now, but I'm not. Anyways, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I listened to it on audiobook. I liked all the voice actors for all of them. I think Millie's voice was my favorite. There was just such vibrancy whenever she was talking, whenever it was her portion of the story. I did like the others, but that one was just the most memorable to me. Like even sitting here right now, I can still hear her voice in my head. And yeah, I would give this, I'd say 4.5 out of 5 stars. I know that's pretty high. Some people, I'm sure, had some dislike for this book, and if you are one of those people, please do tell me in the comments below what your thoughts were, if you disliked it and why. If you want to go into specifics, you can or not. And yeah, I will eventually have my review of One of Us is Lying up, and I will have my review of One of Us is Next up, and we can talk more about Karen McManus and her work and whether she is an author that I will be paying more specific attention to moving forward. With that said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. I will see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.